My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my list of the best TV shows of 2021. Now, I haven't seen every TV show that came out. There's a few that I wanted to watch that I didn't quite get to. Maybe they'd make the list, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know, I haven't seen them. But some of those shows include My Name, Hellbound, What We Do in the Shadows Season 3, The Expanse Season 6, Dr. Death, and Cobra Kai. I haven't seen those shows, so they won't be on this list. There's lots of shows that people really loved that I didn't like at all, so those won't be on my list either. And yeah, anyways, let's get going. So my seventh favorite show of 2021 was Brand New Cherry Flavor. Now, lots of people didn't watch this show, and when it came out, I did overhype it. I gave it an 8.5, and looking back, it's more of a 7 out of 10, but still a solid season of television. What I like about this show is that if you're a horror fan like me, this show just has it all. It's got some incredible body horror, it's got zombies, got witches, it's just got it all, and that's what I really liked about this show. I never knew what direction it was heading in next. I thought all the performances were really strong, especially Rosa Salazar, who does a fantastic job as the lead, and I also really liked Catherine Keener on this show, and yeah, it's got some funny moments, it's got some really gross moments, some intense moments. I really enjoyed this show, so that's why it's in 7th place. In 6th place is another show that I gave an 8.5 out of 10 to, and looking back, I'd give a 7 out of 10 to, but it's still a good season of television, and that's The White Lotus. It's a comedy show that's unlike any other comedy show I've ever seen. What I really love about it is the music, because the music just keeps going from scene to scene. It just creates this nice flow, and it gives the show a nice rhythm that I really enjoyed. But the show is also really funny in a way that I wasn't expecting it to be. You're just watching all these different kind of characters interacting with each other and starting to hate each other more and more as the season progresses, and that just kept the show entertaining. The entire cast does a fantastic job, but I think Maury Bartlett was the standout. I think he was just hilarious here, and everything regarding his character cracked me up. I just thought this was a very unique comedy series that I really dug, so that's why it's in 6th place. In 5th place is a show that I do have issues with, but it has still resonated with me since I watched it, and it's Midnight Mass. Now this show's, like I said, it's not without its issues. It is a bit too long, there are scenes that are really dragged out, especially any monologue scene, and I found the ending to be a bit underwhelming, but what this show excels in, it really excels in. Just the weird comparison between religion and vampires I thought was really fascinating. All the performances were really great, especially Hamish Linklater, who just had this unique quality to him that really allowed him to stand out. All the characters were fully developed, and there's some really real emotion here. There's one scene at the end of episode 5 that I just found to be disturbing and heartbreaking and very haunting, and it was a really great moment. But there's also moments where they built tension also well, like when everyone's heading to the church, singing together at the same time, and it just had this feel to it that really had me on edge. This show's atmospheric, it's well written, it's well directed, it's well acted, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. I still stand by my 7.5. It does have issues, but once again, what it gets right, does it ever get right? So that's why it's in 5th place. In 4th place is a show that I also overrated a bit. The more I think about this show, the less I like it, but it's still a really good season of television, and that's Squid Game. Now, the ending does dampen my view of the entire season. I think the ending to this season is absolutely awful. But getting to that point, I really loved most of what was going on. All the characters were fully developed. There's some characters that you love at the start and start to hate by the end. There's characters that you hated at the start and come to like by the end. And just the journey everyone goes on, you understood and bought every single character beat. It's also got some really emotional moments. It's got some incredible, intense, and thrilling moments. And just the visual appeal of this show was unlike anything else. The production and costume design was really great. It just gave the show a signature look. And yeah, like I said, I do have issues with it, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think it's a damn solid season of television. I don't know if I'm looking forward to any future seasons, but this season 1 was definitely worth watching. In third place is a show called Made, which was really well made. I didn't expect to love this show as much as I did, but it is one of the most emotional experiences of the year. Every single performance is really great. Margaret Qualley is fantastic in this show. Andie MacDowell is really good, despite acting a little crazy, but she's meant to. Nick Robinson, I've never seen this side of him before, but I think he excels in this show. There's moments where you even think to yourself, it seems like he is trying to change. Like maybe he isn't that bad of a guy. But then you get reminded that he is that bad of a guy. And it really allows you to understand the main character and her mindset. And just watching her struggle, trying to get a job, trying to take care of her kid, trying to find a place to live, and how she's constantly struggling throughout. You just feel for her throughout. And I thought the character was incredibly well written. There's some powerful emotional moments. Like there's one moment where she's cleaning a house while Send Me On The Way by the Rusted Roots is playing. And it's just a really moving scene. That moment legitimately moved me to tears. The soundtrack throughout is great, and yeah, this is definitely one of the best seasons of television this year. I thought this was really great. Highly recommended. And then in second place, we've got a show that I think was my first review for this channel. And it's a show that I saw early on in 2021, and it's remained one of my favorites ever since. And that was Invincible Season 1. This show was just fantastic. It brought me back to watching Justice League Unlimited when I was a kid, but as I've aged, that type of show has aged with me, and this show does not hold back on the brutality. Like, there is some moments that made my jaw drop. At the end of the very first episode, I was just like, holy crap, like, I was not expecting that. And then right away, just like that, I was hooked on this show, and I'm just like, I can't wait to see what happens with this storyline. And the show didn't let me down. It delivers one of the most emotional, intense, and thrilling storylines of the year. Everything regarding Mark and Omni-Man was just so fully developed and just filled with emotion. And man, those last two episodes are something really special, because just some of the finest television ever. Like, I loved those last two episodes. You also got a great bunch of other supporting characters that were really well developed, and I just love the main character, Mark Grayson. It kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 2 as he's trying to struggle being a hero and just being a teenage boy living his life, and just seeing that difficulty. You know, there's just something very human about it that you can connect to. I think it's got some great emotional moments. The action is thrilling. Yeah, this is just a show that I really loved. The entire voice cast does an amazing job, especially J.K. Simmons, who gives some of his finest work ever. Yeah, I love this show. Can't recommend it enough. But that said, nothing came close to my favorite show of 2021. This isn't just my favorite show of the year, it's my favorite show ever. I like it better than every single movie I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot for me. The only story that I like more than this story is Last of Us Part 2. And these two stories are just above everything else so significantly for me. And that was Arcane Season 1. I had zero expectations going into this show. Oh, it's based on that stupid League of Legends game? I couldn't have cared less. I wasn't even planning on watching this show, but I decided to give it a try, and I'm so glad I did. This show is an absolute masterpiece. It's flawless. It's pure perfection. It's resonated with me in such a way that very few pieces of art ever do. Like, to really understand how much I love this show, I've already watched it 6 times in just a couple weeks. That is significantly more than I've watched any other season of television ever. This show really is that good. It just does everything so perfectly. You know, what some shows can't do in an entire run, this show is able to do in 9 episodes. The world building is handled so perfectly. You really understand this world and all these characters, and everything feels so fully fleshed out. The animation is revolutionary. It's unlike anything else. Just how it looks on a visual level, how it is stylistically, and how it immerses you into people's mindsets, it continued to impress me time and time again throughout. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, and the way they tied into the show is handled so perfectly. But all that stuff wouldn't matter if it weren't for this phenomenal story and this amazing group of characters. The character of Powder and what she goes through here is some of the most heartbreaking storytelling I've ever witnessed. Like, it wrecked me. And when you look at where that character is at the beginning of the season and where she is at the end of it, it is so emotionally powerful. And it just devastated me. You also got another character by the name of Vi, who's just this badass who also has her own tragic story. You also got Silco, who might be my favorite villain of all time because he starts off as the most generic of villains, but by the end, just what they're able to do with him and how they humanize him is unlike anything else I've experienced. You also got Jace, who I thought had a very powerful character arc. You got a character like Victor, who I thought was phenomenally well written. You got Mel, you got Vandal, you got Grayson, you got Marcus. Just every single character is so fully fleshed out. No one seems like they're just there to move the plot forward. They each feel like characters with their own challenges that they're trying to face. And the story and the way that it connects all these characters, I just found to be truly incredible stuff. It's the kind of show that I can't get enough of. Like, I've already watched it 6 times and I want to watch it again. It's just like, it's that show that's so good that you just don't know what to do afterwards with your life. You're like, well, what do we do now? It's just that good. And my goodness, like, this show is phenomenal throughout. But the last 5 minutes might be my favorite 5 minutes in anything ever. It's just emotionally powerful and heartbreaking, and it makes you think about how far each and every character has come and the tragic story that's ahead of them. And it just hits you so freaking hard. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a weeping mess this entire show. I just think it's so emotional throughout. And you got that emotional, personal angle of it, but you also got the more cerebral, grander story as well. You know, it's an exploration of war and class, the advancement of technology, mental illness, trauma, and just the way it handles each and every one of those topics gets explored in such a way that feels really realistic. And the entire voice cast is absolutely incredible. Mia Sinclair and Ella Purnell give 2 of the best voice performances I've ever heard. And the show is only 6 hours long. It's 9 episodes, each 40 minutes long. It's one of the best paced, fastest moving shows I've ever experienced. And yet, at the end, I wanted more. Like, I'm extremely excited for season 2, but I'm also very worried because I just don't know how they can top this first season. I've got some other worries, like I hope dead characters stay dead, and I hope characters that should be dead are dead. I know they're not going to fully commit to some of that stuff, but nothing can undo the pure perfection of this first season. It is some of the very best storytelling ever. And I'm so glad I gave it a chance. Like, it's one of those shows that just stays with you, and you know that very few pieces of art will ever touch you in the way that this one did. And it's incredible. Like, I can't recommend it enough. Give it a chance. You'll love it. It's revolutionary, and it's my favorite show of the year, easily. Nothing even came close, to be honest. But what are your favorite shows of 2021? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin,